Welcome to the Life on Shuffle podcast, a collection of stories about people who have taken chances, embraced the unexpected, and inadvertently discovered their true passion. Life doesn't always go according to plan, and that's exactly what this podcast is about, figuring life out as you go. Today, we are featuring Stephen McMasters, an insurance agent from Lenore, North Carolina, who has navigated his own path through uncertainty to find out where he truly belongs. In addition to Stephen, we also have Zariyah, myself,
Jasmin, Jaquelyn,
Brittany, and Josh, as we explore what it truly means to not have everything figured out in life. Before we jump into the questions, let's learn a little more about Stephen. Stephen McMasters is a community-oriented professional who believes growth comes from embracing changes in life and new opportunities. He began college studying marketing before transitioning to industrial design. After working in that field, Stephen became a teacher and coach at West Caldwell, where he spent 23 years teaching algebra, biology, drafting, architecture, and also was the athletic director. He later took a leap of faith into a new career path as an insurance agent, continuing his passion for helping others in a different way. Stephen is a devoted man of faith who is committed to serving his community. Stephen, welcome to the show. We are really glad to have you on our podcast. To get started, let's talk about your journey. Did you always have a clear idea of what you wanted to do in life, or were you figuring it out as you went?
Well, number one, thanks for having me. I'm excited about being here with you guys today. I'd like to tell you that I was at first wanting to just go with the flow and just try to see where life took me. But when I left high school, I wanted to be a basketball coach. I had to find something to study in college, but I thought I wanted to be a basketball coach. And I let that control most of my life. But being there, I started in college, as you had mentioned earlier, to be a marketing major. And a few classes into college, I realized I don't think marketing was for me. It may have had something to do with my grades in those classes, or it may have just been that I found out I thought I wanted to do something else. So that's when I switched into drafting. But still today, it's an evolving process. I'm sure we'll talk about that. But although I thought I knew exactly what I wanted to do, I really had no clue.
Was there a point in your life that you felt that you had figured out what you wanted?
Yeah, I think there's multiple times I've felt like I knew I was where I was supposed to be. And I truly believe at that time I was at the place I was supposed to be. Going all the way back to when I graduated college, I was working in industrial design, which what I did was I designed lumber handling machinery. And to be honest with you, I made pretty good money for a guy that in 1999 was just right out of college. Today, it wouldn't be considered good money, but at that point in time, it was good money. And I enjoyed what I did, but I was coaching basketball at West Caldwell High School on the side. That was what I did in the evenings. And that really was the passion that I wanted. And that's when the job came open for me to be able to go to West Caldwell and become a teacher. My wife was a teacher, and so being on the same schedule as her, was a big deal. So at that time, she was pregnant with our first child, and so being on the same schedule with her was just seemed like it fit, although I was going to lose a little bit of money on that. But I was back to what I said earlier, was it gave me an opportunity to be a basketball coach. And that is where I thought was me getting my foot in the door to become a basketball coach on TV. That's what I thought I was going to do. And so at that point, I thought I was right where I needed to be. And then, I'm going to guess it was probably 10 years, 12 years of that. I decided that it was time to give up coaching. My kids were getting a little older and life was changing for me. And that's when I became the athletic director at West Caldwell and kind of took a back seat to coaching. And I still coached a little bit until that point, but I started finding myself not being as passionate about coaching as I once was. And with anything you do in life, and you're going to hear me say this quite a bit, if you don't have passion and you don't have the interest to do that, then once you get to the point that you lose that fire for what you're doing, the people that you're serving, the people that you're working with, you're doing them a disservice. And it got to a point where I knew that I wasn't giving my all for the young people that trusted in me to give them that every day. And so at that point in time, I decided to start praying and try to see if I could come up with something else to do. And I had no idea, maybe we'll get to this later, but that I would end up today being sitting here telling you that I was an insurance agent. And so 5 years ago, that's the path that it took me on. I'm at a place again where I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. But every step along the way, I had an opportunity to impact somebody else's life. And for me, that's what's always made me feel like I'm where I need to be. So yes, I've been there. And then I've also left that place for a different place where I felt like I was supposed to be planted at that time.
Did you ever feel like you were behind in life because you decided to switch over to a different career path?
Absolutely. I feel like I'm behind in life today. Um, just being honest, and I'm a real person. I'm an open book. And so for me, I think it's a challenge that we as human beings face every day. And so the concern of even going back to, I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be now. At the same point in time, I'm at a place right now where every step that I have taken has kind of opened another door for me. And I could go back and I could see it in the past of every small step I took forward. I may even thought it was a step backwards, but it was really opening another door. And so the profession that I'm in now, the contacts that I've made over the last 20 some years were really big for me in what I do now. But I would say at least 2 to 3 times a month, I still get a conversation or somebody reaches out that says, would you be interested in doing this? Or would you be interested in coming to work for me? And all those things are a testament of just the experiences that I've had before in the contacts. And so for me, I think there's always the challenge of somewhat feeling like you're behind. I feel like it's a constant chase. Earlier when we first met outside, I had mentioned to you two ladies that greeted me outside that today had been a pretty hectic day. And I feel like I'm behind today. When I go home tonight, I will work from home tonight. And that's just me, because before I go to sleep tonight, I don't like to feel behind more. But I think that's a necessary feeling. And I think you ladies would probably get the same thing. I don't think you probably ever feel like you're ahead in your schoolwork right now. And if you are ahead in your schoolwork, if you have a job, you're feeling like, oh man, I've got to get to this. Or if you're starting to, we talked about looking at colleges, it's almost like, well, my friend picked their college, so I've got to pick mine now. And so now you're in a hurry just to say you did it because there's all this pressure on the outside. Like, why have you not got that done yet? So I think there's a constant feeling of behind, and I think that's our human life now. We have gotten to a point where everybody is so busy. Idle time is not good time. And what I mean by that is if you're not doing something, somebody's going to call you lazy. So I think it's human nature for all of us. If you're driven, you're going to feel like you're behind. If you ever feel like you're all caught up, you might want to start worrying that maybe you are getting a little complacent or content with where you are at that time. Long answer to a short question.
So with trying something new and feeling like that's where you belonged at those times, do you think there's like something you learned from that, having those like experience of feeling like you belong, and then suddenly you always still feel behind, how do you like I guess settle with that feeling?
Right. Man, y'all are good. Y'all got some good questions. I think, as I said earlier, every experience at that point in time, I didn't look at it as being, and let me go back and say this, there has never been a job that I have left with ill will. There has never been, every time I took a different step, it was a step that I thought about a lot, that I almost to some degree may even agonized about. And I think some of that is, though, being comfortable. I was comfortable once I had got into that job or position that I was in. I became comfortable with it, and I knew every day what I was doing. Getting into something completely different has become obviously a major it scares you. Anything different is scary for you. But I can honestly, even some failures that I've had in those jobs, I can look back at it now and absolutely see where, that's helped mold me to where I am now. So every experience, whether it was good or bad, I think in life we have to look back on it and learn from it. And again, that's even the bad ones. That's not good ones. Although I've been blessed that I feel like in life I've had a lot more good experiences than bad. And most of the bad experiences really just come down to challenges. But I think it still comes down to you getting out of your comfort zone. And I say this all the time, joking, but I'm 50 years old, and I say this, and I probably told you all the day that I was at the career fair with you. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. And I think, that's evolving. As a career, it evolves. As the man that I want to be, the husband, the father that I want to be, I can see what that is. I know where I want to get to. That doesn't mean I ever want to get complacent, but as the job goes, it's still wide open. I don't want to limit myself to where I can be. And again, that's no disservice to my employer that I have now or whatnot. I think employers want people that want to continue to be at their best and not be satisfied with where they are. And that's probably where, I use the word hungry. I'm still hungry to continue to get better and not be satisfied with the people that I'm responsible for taking care of now.
Did you have to face a lot of obstacles with all these careers you've had?
Absolutely. The first one I would say is a mental obstacle. And it's the question of wanting to know, are you inadequate? I think that's what, even when I'll turn it around, when you guys are looking, when you finish your time here at the early college, you've gotten to a place right now where you're comfortable here. I'm sure the first day that you walked into here, you weren't comfortable. You were probably comfortable in the place that you left, but it's a new environment. So for me, I was extremely uncomfortable every time. I was confident in myself, but at the same point in time, there was that feeling in the back again, are you going to be inadequate? And even at the age, my last career move, I was 45 years old. And so obviously a lot older than what you young ladies are now. And so for us as adults to almost come to you guys and say, you got to have it figured out. You got to know what you're going to do. Time's a ticking. You got to know you're going to college next year. I'm 3 times your age and still trying. And I will say, not in a boastful way, I've been a pretty successful person. I have been extremely blessed. At the same point in time, there are days, this morning was one of them, where I got up and on my way to work, I felt inadequate. I felt like I had some challenges that I was going to face and that I am facing, job related, right now, that I know what is needed of me. I knew the young lady that works for me was not going to be at work today because she was having to be out for a medical procedure. And so at that point in time, I knew I was going to have to be 2 people. And Stephen's not good at being 2 people. And I even mentioned to y'all, she would do a better job being her and me than I can being me and her. And she's closer to your age than she is mine. So it's just one of those things where I think challenges are good. I think challenges are beneficial. And I think the evolution of people trying to get where they want to get in life, I think is just part of how we're supposed to live. And I'll go back again. I just don't think any person ever should get complacent where they are in really most facets of their life, in your health, in your job, in your faith, what kind of friend you are, what kind of coworker you are. Those are the kind of things, I have not always been this way, but one of the biggest goals that I have is I want to be the person that when people that are in my circle or my job place, if they're facing a hard time, I want to be the guy that they want to come talk to, that they trust for that. And the reason I want to do that is because there's been people along the line that were that for me when I was in these hard places. And I may not be able to give that person that back because some of those people have passed on now. But at the same point in time, I know how important it was for me at that time. And so even through these career changes and position changes, there were a lot of people that would say, you're a fool for doing that. But I had others that would come and say, hey, I think it's a risky move, but I'm going to help you all that I can. And that's the people that I wanted. I didn't want somebody to lie to me and tell me it was going to be easy. I wanted those people that were pretty much going to be by my side. And so the challenges that we're asking about and the feelings that we had, they were easier for me because I had people in my corner. I had people that I knew were pulling for me. And there's always going to be people that aren't pulling for you in whatever you do. There's going to be a lot of people that are just going to see you, I don't want to say fall, but not necessarily perfectly exceed. And that's just being real. And that's just because there's some people in life that are just not positive thinkers. And surround yourself with the people that are wanting you to become better. They want to see you succeed. And that's not one of those people. I've got some guys in my office that are younger than I am, and I pull for them as hard as I do me. And to some degree, we're in a little bit of a competition. I'm in a sales business where if you're selling it, I'm not selling it. I get paid off what I sell. But for me, there's days that I go home excited because one of my coworkers landed something that's going to be really good for him and his family, and I may have been empty that day. But I'm happy for him because I knew how important it was for him. And I want to try to, I can't lie to you and tell you everything's sunshine and roses, but I always want to be that person. So, challenges, we're going to deal with them every day.
Yeah, so the 23 years in education.
Yes, sir.
Right? And I don't know if everybody, even our listening audience, would know like what you left behind. I'm using air quotes there, right? Because
Right.
at only 7 more years, you would have had a full retirement and everything like that. So, the question about the obstacle, like looking forward, I mean, I think the biggest obstacle with leaving education for anything after 23 years is like leaving some on the table or like walking away from, it's not much retirement, but it's retirement. Like,
Right.
So was that voices that you heard? Did you hear a lot of people saying like,
Sure.
don't do what it is that you're getting ready to do? You're
Absolutely.
making a huge mistake, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say I had a really loud voice. So, I was working at West Caldwell and had just got to the point where I knew it was time for me to take a step back for some of my roles. I was getting tired. My health, it was just stress. I mean, COVID was not good on a athletic director. I mean, I was getting to school most mornings at 7. I was leaving after the last basketball game or last sports event was played that night at 11 o'clock. And so, I wasn't seeing my wife and my kids awake during the day. There were a lot of governmental restrictions put on, such as 25 people can attend an inside basketball game is all that can come, not getting into politics or anything like that. It was just hard for me to tell parents you couldn't watch your own child play because we were only allowed to have 25 people there. Things like that started weighing on me, and so I started having some stress-related health problems. And so it was a situation where I knew I probably needed to get out and do something else. I did calculate it in the fact that I waited until I was 45 to leave the school system. And I knew that at that time I had 287 sick days saved up. And so I knew that I could get out and I could save those. January 16th, 2026 was a day that I was looking for because that's the day I turned 50, which is a little bit about 2 months ago. I was able to retire from the state of North Carolina with a portion of my retirement. So I was able to retire, but it took me 5 years to retire after I got out. But you asked about the voices, and I said I had a loud voice. My dad actually worked with the state of North Carolina for a little over 30 years. And when I told him the night before I was going to interview with Farm Bureau, my dad said, do you realize what you're leaving behind? This is not something, I don't know that this is a wise decision. And I just said, I get it. I've looked through it. I feel like I have to at least go talk to them. And he told me, he said, well, you go listen to anybody that's willing to talk to you. If they think enough of you to talk to you about a position to come with their company, you do it. But that doesn't mean you have to take it. And 2 days later, I took that, and I felt like it was where I was supposed to be. But you're talking about the leap that I made was a job where, and I've mentioned it, you get paid off what you sell. So if you do not sell anything, you do not get paid. But I don't look at my job now as being a salesman. I look at it as, because I don't have anything to sell you per se. We talked about it before when y'all would have came to my table that day. I offer up auto insurance, home insurance, life insurance, whatnot. I can tell you this is what we can offer you and what we can provide. It's your decision if you feel like that's something you want to purchase to protect you and your family. I see it more as a service job because my clients become people that any way that I can help them, I want to help them. And if there's something out there that they're asking for, but I don't think it's going to benefit them, I think the right way as a human is to say, I don't think you need that, and here's why. Even though I'm going to make money off of that, I don't think you need that. If I wouldn't sell it to my mom, my dad, my wife, if I wouldn't buy it myself, I have a conscience where I can't offer that to somebody else. And it goes back to, you want to have people, if there's something in life that you don't fully understand, you want to make sure you got people that are going to give you good advice. And I think that's why no matter what you're in life, and this has nothing to do with insurance, surround yourself with people that want to see you be successful, whether it be your teachers, your friends. Friends are going to come and go. I mean, they will. But at the same point in time is you want to find people that want to make you successful, and you want to be that friend that wants to see others be successful. Be cheering for people when something, you do something good and you get an accomplishment. The people that are quiet are the people you might want to kind of keep your eye on. The people that are cheering for you are the ones that are really in your corner. Huge leap of faith. And I'm gonna go off script a little bit here, but I was excited when I think you sent me the email, right? You had sent it, and I was like, this is right up my alley. And then hearing kind of what we're doing, this is a passion for me. And what I miss about teaching is the conversations with young people. Because, I mean, I taught school at West Caldwell, and people ask all the time, what did you teach? And I say, I taught kids. And so y'all had even asked me that when I came in. Kids may not be the right word. Y'all are young adults. I was a high school teacher, but at the same point in time, I would tell them a lot of times, I hope you learned a little bit about this, but I hope you learned a lot about life by being in my classroom. Because I think it's just, there's so many people out there, the world of social media and all that. This is great that you're getting your word out this way, but there's so many people that can be so negative, and negativity can break you down really, really fast. And so having somebody that's constantly in your ear, you got to do this, you got to do that. No, y'all got your whole life ahead of you right now. But that doesn't mean, okay, well, I'm just going to go waste 5 years just because I've got many years after that, but I'm just going to go be a bum for the next 5 years and then decide what I want to do. No, that's not what people are telling you when they're saying that you want to get some direction. And sometimes that direction may eliminate an avenue. You may be between 3 careers that you want to do. Do you want to try this one? And you get into it like I did marketing and figure out, no, this is not it. I didn't know what it wanted to be, but I knew marketing wasn't it. I didn't like accounting personally. It wasn't adding up for me. And in accounting, you just got to add up. So I actually took a drafting class. I just full disclosure, I thought it was going to be easy. And so I took it and ended up enjoying it. And then after I get out of that, I just wanted to coach. And then they tell me I have to go back and get a teaching degree. And I'm like, oh, man, I've already got some degrees. So I go back again and get the first degree. And then they say, okay, now you're going to teach this. Well, what does that mean? You got to go back and get some more. And so I got to the point where I was probably in school. I was probably in school from the time I was 18 to probably maybe 28 or something like that. And becoming an insurance agent, I had to go back to school. I just had to study and pass some tests, and I did it from my own kitchen table. So technology saved me on that one, so I didn't have to go back.
Kind of going back to when you were talking about having people in your corner, having people there to support you, is that kind of what drove you to be a teacher? I know you wanted to be a coach, but being there for those kids, being in their corner, supporting them.
I'd like to tell you and make everything sound perfect, but I got into teaching to be a basketball coach, 100%. And that again is one of those things where when I look back at it, I'm glad I got into that field. But at the same point in time, I got into it for the wrong reason to begin with. Part of the right reason was I was going to be on the same schedule as my wife, so it wasn't all bad. And it wasn't bad because I loved coaching, but also at that time I coached young men. I coached in the boys basketball program. I would pour out my heart and soul for those guys. And, I saw one that I coached. I saw him in Walmart Sunday, and the guy's 41 years old now. I was like, golly, you're getting old. And I realized how long ago was that to coach the guy when he was 18 and he's 41 now. But, across Walmart, I hear, hey, coach, and for me, those are the things. So I got into teaching. It was really, I got into coaching. Teaching was the job that paid my salary. But I did do it for the relationships with young people and all that. When I left there, that was the thing that probably held on. And again, what he said a while ago, just about being so close to being able to retire. But at the same point in time, what really got me, and this is the honest truth, is like if I didn't take this leap that I had interest in, the same message I'm giving you ladies, I used to give this to the kids that I had at West Caldwell. And so I would almost be a fraud to tell people not to be afraid to take calculated risk or chances if I didn't do it myself. And so I think it became, and my wife was, she's an angel, but she was the one that, I was almost wanting her to tell me, no, you don't need to do it. This is not what we need. Because to some degree, I could blame it on her, but she was that biggest cheerleader that I was talking about. Let's saying, do it. We'll be fine. Do it. I believe in you enough to know we'll make it work. You're not going to fail at this. You're going to do it. And I think that's another thing is when I took this job, it's a commission-based job, which I talked about, which means you get paid off of your margin of things that you sell. And there was a part of me, though, that at the age of 45, I think I had a leg up on somebody that was 25 getting into the business because I had a wife and 3 children. And I had no option other than to succeed. I had to, because those 4 people were counting on me to bring a paycheck home every month. And so no matter how late I had to be out that night, how many people I had to call that day, I had a wife and 3 kids that counted on me to do that. And so there was that pressure that was on there, but it was good pressure. That also is what provides the satisfaction at the end of the month when you had a really good month and maybe you're able to take a vacation that you weren't going to take that year, and now you're able to do it. Sitting on that beach was a time to say, you know what? I worked hard enough that I got a bonus, and this is what we were able to use for that. Right now, I'm using bonus money that I had gotten for last year's work to pay for a portion of, I've got a daughter that's getting married in a year. And so I've got a year for that. And so for me, that kind of drives me knowing that I don't have the money really to go out, and it's not like it's going to be extravagant, but to go out and pay that, that's an extra expense. But now I've got something that motivates me to try to make sure that I want to be able to give her and her future husband the day that they want to have. And so that's going to come just from extra work. So that's, again, just a motivator for me. So there's pressure, but that's good pressure. I'm not worried about failing. I believe in myself enough to know that I'm going to find a way, even though this morning when I got up, I felt inadequate. Maybe tomorrow I feel like tomorrow's the day, and that's just, again, just going back to being real. As y'all say, keeping it 100, right?
So, now that you are an insurance agent, talking about like that good pressure,
Mhm.
that bad pressure, what else kind of pushes you, motivates you?
Yeah, that's a question that you're asking right now that Stephen wrestles with right now. I will say this, and people that work with me know this: money does not motivate me. It doesn't. Um, I've never been a person. I grew up not in a wealthy household. I mean, I grew up in a household that we didn't starve. I'm overweight now, so I'm not starving now. And it's okay to laugh. It's true. So, money, the amount of money that's sitting in my bank account, although money is very important because you have to pay your bills and money causes stress, that's not something that drives me. Time drives me. I feel like I missed in the job I had before a lot of time with my wife and my kids. And so now having some free time drives me, motivates me. At the same point in time, I would tell you I am working a lot of hours right now. It's just timing. But if I'm working long hours right now, it usually means that I've got a chance to sell some things, which comes back to what I told you I didn't motivate me, but it's money. But it helps me for my daughter's wedding. So there's so many turns, it still comes back to the same place. But what motivates me, honestly, not just trying to sound like a good guy, is what motivates me in the job that I'm in now is trying to feel like when somebody leaves that I've been able to help them. That I've been able to help them in a fair way. To make sure, when somebody calls and says, we've had a fire at our house and I just don't know what to do. And for me to say, we got you covered. We'll have somebody out there. The insurance business that you have, you see people a lot of times in some of their biggest challenges. You don't hear from them when they've not been in a car wreck, when they've not been in, a loved one's passed away and they're needing life insurance payment, or something's happened at their home, a water pipe's busted. They're upset when they're calling you. And so you have to be okay with knowing you usually talk to people at a time that they're at a bad spot. And so for me, I want to try to be pretty level-headed and be calm with them and help them and meet them where they are right then. And then generally you'll get a conversation 2 to 3 weeks later of thank you for helping me. And that really is what it's about. I think it comes back to just trying to be, for you guys where you are at now, it'd be being a good friend. For me, I want to be a friend of my customers. I think I've got 1,200 customers, I think is what it is. I'd be lying to you if I told you I knew every one of them's name. At the same point in time, most of them, if you go 2 years without seeing them, they've been blessed, nothing bad's happened or whatever else. But I know most of them, and I at least recognize their face. I may have to ask a question or two to get a name or something like that, but it's the relationships. And so, that's the part that probably motivates me the best. And, I also would say this, I think if I get to a time that I feel like I'm not motivated, I have to come up with something else that's going to motivate me, whether it be a little game I make with myself of, okay, this month we're going to try to get this many sales for this. I'm going to try to call this many people and check on them. Now I've got a thing that I'm starting right now is I've got a list of all my clients' birthdays. It's not going to make me one dime out of this, but it just goes back to being, I want to start calling people on their birthday. Just calling you to tell you happy birthday, or whatnot. And it's just positivity is what it is. I'm not going to ask them anything about wanting to buy anything. I'm calling to tell you happy birthday. If you call somebody, say happy birthday, and then say, hey, let me tell you what I got that you can buy right now. You didn't want to call me, tell me happy birthday. It was my day for you to call and ask that. So it's really just goes back to no strings attached, being a good human being. So that's something that motivates me right now.
So, that's one of your biggest motivations now, even before college, even before teaching. I know you wanted to be a coach, but what even motivated you to get there?
Oh gosh, I wasn't the best human being when I was younger. Growing up, I was a pretty good athlete. I was arrogant. Um, I was cocky. I thought, my wife gave a little gathering at my 50th birthday party a couple months ago, and there were pictures up in there, and some of the pictures are when I was younger, and that's not the Stephen that I was the most proud of, because that Stephen was really folk, and I was y'all's age. Y'all are a lot. Just the time I've met you, a lot better humans than I was when I was your age. But for me, that was a person that wanted people telling Stephen, "You're good at baseball. You're good at basketball. You're the man." Getting my name put in the newspaper at that point in time. Newspapers were all over the place, and again, we're talking back in the '90s. It was recognition. Stroking my ego, if you would say. Those were things at that point in time that was all I cared about. Those things are in a closet somewhere right now. I'm overweight now. It doesn't matter. It's and so I was chasing the wrong things, but I think that's human nature. A lot of times that's where you are in life. It doesn't make it right. So to tell you at that age that I was motivated to be a great human being, I was not. And maybe that's part of, I don't know this, but maybe that's where I am. And when I got to be a teacher, it was almost like, just being honest, maybe some of the people that were in a class with me or whatever else that I overlooked, didn't talk to, or whatever else, as a teacher, those were the kids that I was probably talking to more. When I was that age, it wasn't a big deal. That was just a guy that sat over on the other side of the room. He didn't do what I did. He didn't look like I did, or whatever else. So he was just over there to me. When I became a teacher, I think I started realizing a little more of, and then when I got to college, that's really when I realized there weren't a lot of people that were like me at college. I needed to try to be a little more like some of the people that were in there, because they were good human beings and I wasn't the best human being. And so my friends that I met in college probably became, there's not many of my friends from high school. I don't say this to upset y'all and make you go home and be sad. Most of my friends from high school, there's probably 5 or 6 that I still interact with at some point in time. My college friends are people, though, that I realize if I need something today, I can call on those folks, because when I was in high school, I lived at home. I would be with my friends. I would go home and live with my mom and dad. When I went to college, I was living at a place where they became my family. I was away from my mom and dad. And so those are the people now that no matter how much we go without seeing each other, talk with each other, if we reach out to some of those friends, it's a little more real friendship. And so I think in college is where I started getting a little more motivation and direction for where I wanted to go. But in high school, I probably just wasn't the best human being that there was.
Yeah, I've told them the same thing, that I don't hardly talk to anybody from high school.
Yeah.
There's like one person that I would feel comfortable picking up the phone and calling right now.
Yeah.
But the college is the same thing. But I want to ask, I don't think we were able to say it. Like, where did you go to college?
So I went to Appalachian all 10 of those years that I told you. So I actually, when I left, I graduated from West Caldwell too. So that's the high school that I went to. When I left there, I was actually going to go to college to play baseball. And it was either going to be Methodist College, which is down east in Fayetteville, North Carolina, or Appalachian. And I ended up, I was a good student. I just wasn't a good person all the way around in high school. I was a good student, and I had a full scholarship, academic scholarship to Appalachian. And so I took that scholarship and went up there and just decided I didn't want to play baseball, and had an opportunity to walk on to the basketball team, and then just decided I didn't want to do that either. So I just became a student, which was great. It was all going to end at some point in time, but that goes back to me, the person I thought I was going to be. This first, I thought I was in school. I thought I was going to be a professional athlete, and then when I realized that wasn't going to happen, I decided I wanted to be a coach. So we kind of left that part out. But in college, I guess, is when at App, I was actually my second year. I was going to App. I was living in Boone, but I was driving down to West Caldwell to coach basketball at that time while I was in college, and then I would drive back up. So I was, 20 years old. I started coaching basketball at West Caldwell as an assistant, and then got employed there by maybe I was the age of 23, I think. So I did it either 3 or 4 years just driving back and forth before I got there. But yeah, so that's so I went to App, and that's where I got all those extra degrees that I had to go back and get. And actually, I've had, two of my two daughters have went to App. My wife went to App. My son goes to Caldwell now. He's transferring to App next year. So we paid a lot of money to Appalachian.
Yeah, wow. I prefer App. That's my alma mater too. But everybody around here is like, oh, that's too close. That's too close. But it sounds like you're able to distance yourself and getting that little bit of freedom and everything.
Absolutely.
And do that. And I think that's like, I don't know. I like that.
Absolutely.
It's not terribly far away, but it's far enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great school.
Well, when I went there, I called home once a week. And the reason I did that, y'all, I'm getting ready to speak a foreign language to you guys, one that you don't understand. We had to make what's called a collect call. Okay. Y'all probably, like you're looking at me like I've got 4 heads right now. What that meant was now y'all can pick up a cell phone. You can call anywhere, and it's not long distance charges or whatever. So when I was at Appalachian, even just to call down to Lenore, you had to get a phone. I had to type in a code for it, and I would either call it and it would get charged to my room, which was like $5 a minute, literally, or I could do what was called a collect call, and then the lady would get on the phone, and they would call my parents, and you'd have to say your name of who you are, and your parents would answer the phone, hello, and they would say, we got a collect call from Stephen. Do you wish to take it? Well, if my mom or dad was mad at me, they could say no. Or if they didn't want to pay for it, no. Sorry, sir, they're not going to accept your call. Or if they did, it'd be, we can only talk for 2 minutes or whatnot. So, that seemed like a long way away because you didn't even really talk. I mean, now we can FaceTime each other. We can, whatever else, you call all you want to, text every second of the day. But at that point in time, although it was a 30-minute drive, distance communication was not as easy as it is now. So that seemed like a really long way away. So probably at that point in time, that was just as far away as being at the beach. I mean, 5-6 hours because you did the same thing. It was the same contact that was made or whatever. So I get it. I mean, I'll say this though. A lot of people are like, I want to get as far away as I can. And those are the same people sometimes that happens to that man, I'd like to be back just a little bit closer. Yeah. So I get it though. But again, it comes back to you can take a chance.
Faith, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, it again, and I know I told some of y'all this that day, and I told this to a young man at my office today. You spend more time at school with your friends awake than you do with your own family. So make the choice that you feel like is going to bring you the most joy and comfort. And whatever that is, whether it's work, college, whatever. And if you feel like you've made the wrong choice, as long as you don't make just such a terrible decision and do something illegal or whatever else, you're going to be able to come back and make another choice. Take chances.
Okay, so in the email where we originally asked you to participate in the podcast, you said, I am a firm believer that you can do your best in whatever you may be doing and push yourself to grow. Every door I have ever walked through has presented an opportunity for another door to be opened. Our final question to you would be, what can you say about this to help people become more comfortable with life changing?
Sometimes those doors that open actually were like a window, and you just had to jump through it. and hoping that window wasn't too high, because it kind of hurt when I landed. But it goes back to all the conversation that we've had. I said this earlier. I am very blessed. I am blessed more than I deserve to be. And I'm open about that. But I think that when an opportunity comes, you have to be willing to take it. And sometimes, there's days that you may look at and just say, man, did I do the right thing or whatever? But if you really I'm not one that's big on impulse. Now, if somebody comes, hey, you want to go do this? I usually think it through. If you think about it, call on your faith, to what degree that may be. And when you feel like, no, I've got the green light that this is a decision I want to make, just do it wide open. And then if you get to a point where you're starting to question, was this the right thing? Then you just have to start, you're in a season of waiting till you can find what the right thing is. And you hold on to what you have until that next best thing comes through. But doors constantly open. I would also tell you that doors have also closed on me. And sometimes there were doors that closed of opportunities that I thought I had that I was really excited about. And I got pretty upset when those doors closed. And then later on, it might be a year, it might be a week, it might be 2 years or whatever else. I see myself being thankful that door closed. But at that point in time, I didn't understand why it closed. But when you see where, okay, well, that led me to this. If I would have that door to open, I wouldn't be where I am now. And so, again, when you're applying for colleges and some of those things, and, you may get a no on one, which I doubt you are going to get too many no's. But if you do that, bloom where you are planted. And what I mean by that is wherever you end up, that's where you're going to grow. And then if you get planted at a different place, bloom there. Do the best you can where you're at with that opportunity. Learn everything that you can at that place, because you will use those experiences at the next place, whether, again, even be a bad experience.
Well, Stephen, thank you so much for sharing your story and being here with us today. Your perspective really shows us that it is okay to not have everything figured out at the moment and be willing to accept change. Thank you again for joining us. Today's episode was recorded on March 24th, 2026. This episode was produced by Brittany, and it was hosted by Zariyah, Jasmin, and Jaquelyn.